Hi everyone, it's Kute here giving you a shout out from Los Angeles, California. No matter where you are, I'm just sending you love. You know, I've been thinking recently after speaking with many clients and friends, so many of my friends and clients and so many of us, we have so many big visions. You know, like, what's your vision? I bet if I were to ask you what your vision were, you would give me this incredible vision. So we have these big visions and there's so much talk about the magic of thinking big. You gotta think big if you wanna manifest big. You have to think big. And I think it's great, but what I started seeing was so many people, so many of us, we have these big visions, but effectively we're not living them, we're not manifesting them, we're not taking the actions towards them. So one thing that's really worked for me, because I started to ask myself, what's up with that? Why? And one thing that's really worked for me in terms of creating, in terms of manifesting success, in terms of moving forward with living my purpose and my dharma is this. I call it the power of thinking small. That's right. Not the power of thinking big, or the power of thinking small. What I'm saying is you got to think small if you want to manifest your big vision. You got to be willing to chunk things down, think small, if you want to bring your big vision into reality. So often we have these big visions. We want to save the animal kingdom. We want to save the children in India. We want to do what we have, this incredibly grandiose vision, but sometimes it can be so overwhelming, or there's so many different parts of it, moving parts, different components, that it ends up scattering our direction, or sometimes it's so huge that it can be so overwhelming for our minds, for our conscious and our unconscious minds, that there is a sort of unconscious resistance to moving forward because it's just so much and we don't know where to begin, and we get confused and we get lost inside, and because it's so huge, sometimes, unconsciously sometimes, there's a part of us that might be so overwhelmed that we think, well, what's the point of even starting? Or it's just so overwhelming thinking about starting that we don't actually start. I believe that if you want to bring your big vision into reality, you must be willing to think small and do those simple things. Sometimes those simple things that you don't think is even worth doing, those simple things that you don't put any importance into, those tiny things, size does matter. And those tiny things that you do consistently, if you're willing to do those tiny things with consistency each and every day, day in and day out, even those days where it doesn't seem as though it's making a difference, whether it's exercising, whether it's, writing in your journal, whether it's working on your blog, whether it's making a phone call, whether it's, finding a prospect, whatever it might be, those small things you do consistently that are fundamental building blocks for the foundation will determine how high you rise towards your big vision. So are you doing the fundamentals? Most of us, we want to fly, but we can't walk. We want to jump, but we aren't even running. Are you doing those simple, small fundamentals that in the moment you do them don't seem to make a big difference today? In the moment you don't do them, don't seem to make a big difference today, but consistently over time will mean the difference between manifesting that big vision or staying exactly where you are. And I've seen so many people, you and I included, we've all been guilty of it to some point, where we have the big vision and we're focusing on the branding and we're focusing on the marketing, we're focusing on the, the internet list, and we're focusing on, on the advertising, we're focusing on the social media, we're focusing on the huge things that we think are going to make a big difference. But we're actually not taking any specific, tangible, productive action today because we don't think it's really, we think it's a waste of time. Those tiny things you do consistently every single day are part of the fundamental building blocks over time that will move you towards the fruition of that big vision. Are you doing those tiny things each and every day? I remember when I was a kid, I used to be a fat little kid. I'm not sure if I shared this with you guys, but I used to be like, I couldn't actually, as an 8-year-old, I kind of used to be a little pudgy, a little round, so to speak. And one day I got so tired of being teased and laughed at and being left out on the sports teams that I came home. I remember that day, I came home, I threw my bag on against the stairs, and I went running, jogging around the block one time. I went once around the block. And once I went once around the block, I thought, well, that's not gonna get me into shape. But the next day, I went twice around the block. And I huffed and I puffed my way through it, like a 9-year-old podgy little kid. Maybe I was 10 at the time. And then the next day I went 3 times around the block. And then I went 4 times. And I did that consistently. And all of a sudden I was doing 5 times around the block. And then I was doing 6 times around the block. And then I was doing 7 times around the block. And then all of a sudden I started doing 3 miles. And then all of a sudden it was like 4 miles a day. Then all of a sudden I was like running 6 miles a day. And then before you knew it, I was running 15 miles at a time. And then before you knew, I was running a marathon. And it just built. But each time, it didn't seem to make a big difference. Each time it didn't seem to not make a big difference. But all of a sudden, I found myself, the guy without much talent, the guy without much sort of, athletic talent, being the captain of the soccer team, the captain of the cricket team, the captain of the swim team. And it wasn't because I had the talent, it was simply because I focused on those tiny, small fundamentals every single day, and I mastered them, and that assisted me in building my physical health and building my athletic health, and really just transforming my life completely. It's like Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa, she didn't wait until she had $1 billion in the bank in her foundation. She didn't wait until she had a huge foundation. She had all these ideas, but she didn't wait. She came to India and she simply picked up one person. One person, it's not that PR worthy, it's not that sexy, it doesn't sound that interesting, but she picked up one person. And then the next day she picked up another person. And the next day she picked up another person. And then another person. And another person. You see, all the time we spend thinking about the big vision, thinking about and strategizing about the big vision, is also the time where we could actually be taking those action steps necessary rather than waiting. So where in your life right now are you waiting to live your purpose and waiting and planning to live your vision at some point in the future, which may or may not manifest or happen, because the only moment that is absolutely guaranteed is right now. There are no refunds in life. You can't go to the end of next week and say, universe, God, infinite creator, life, please give me the last month back, the last week back, the last day back. So if you're waiting for some special moment in order to give your gift, if you're waiting for some special moment in order to live your purpose, or for the resources to show up, or for that special day in time, for a change of fate, it may or may not happen. The only moment that's guaranteed is now. And if you're willing, if you're not in a situation, a financial situation, a job situation, or a relationship situation that really lights you up, you can shift it, you can change it. And some of you might be thinking, man, it's so far from my reality today. It's so far from where I'm at right now, that sometimes we end up giving up. We end up not doing anything. But if you're willing to think small and say, okay, what can I do that's in my power today, right now? I can't change the world, I can't change my community, but what can I do that's in my power right now, here today? Can I make that one phone call? Like, what's the next action step I can take towards my vision that I don't have to wait? Can I make that one phone call? Can I send that one email? Can I go and pick up that one person like Mother Teresa did? Can I go and, bake a cookie for someone? Can I go and counsel one person, coach one person? Can I go and, what's the one specific thing that if you did consistently every single day and became a total master at that, it would move you forward so radically that in the moment you wouldn't realize it, but you would turn around and look back and go, wow, how did I end up here? And you'd find yourself already step by step by step having lived into your vision without even realizing it. Mother Teresa began with one person. What's the one person you could begin with? How can you start right now exactly where you're at with what you have without waiting for anything? It's when you do that and you commit yourself with a dedication and a commitment and a heart wide open willingness. It's when you commit yourself that you plug into the stream of the vision that's actually already waiting for you. It's waiting to carry you along the way. It's when you do that the whole universe begins to move, to synchronize, and to coordinate, to give you the support. It's waiting for you to take that step to then really give you the support and meet you in that alignment. So don't just think big, but think small. And when Mother Teresa picked up that one person, she began a movement that I guarantee you she probably could never have predicted from the beginning. She could never have predicted that from the start. She just began. One of the hardest steps to manifesting that big vision is not having that big vision, because Lord knows so many of us, we are so blessed with creative ideas and big visions. One of the hardest steps is to begin. Is to just start over and over and over again. I hear so many amazing folks email me, and I so appreciate your emails. Kute, I love what you're doing. Kute, I want to be a coach. Kute, I have a vision. I always say, just start. When I started my coaching business, 12, 13, 14 years ago, I had no idea what I was really doing, but I had one thing going for me. I was bold enough to just begin. You will figure the rest out. The details will figure them out. And there is so much in life that we have no control over. Can't plan that if you just begin and get in the game, the current of the universe and the river will carry you to the exact shore that you are destined to be. Think small to manifest your big vision. What's the simple action steps that you can take today to bring your vision alive? And there'll be days where you don't think like doing them, and there'll be days you don't feel like doing them, but it's those days where you don't feel like it or think like it or want to that make the difference consistently over time. Take the step now. Take those small steps now. Think small to manifest big. I love you lots.